You know what? Not yet. Let me know when you're up, Michaela. Do you mind if I place this
I don't
on you?
mind at all.
Okay. You want to be the one primarily speaking?
Yes.
Perfect.
Jasmine, we have two other speakers. Do they need this when they speak? So they have two others that's going to speak as well
Place it, excuse
on the
me.
podium. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I should have brought my microphone.
What about if you turn this way?
Yeah, if this isn't moved, I think it'll be fine.
It will be though.
It will be?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can sit right there. How about that? Sit right down here.
Okay.
There's a wedge.
That works.
Thank you. So on her command. Waiting on the media. Say what? Oh, yeah. Then they're gonna go live. Then they're gonna go live. That's good right there. All right. You ready? You ready? Okay. Well, good morning, everyone, and happy Halloween. Thank you for joining us on such a short notice. So yesterday, we received news that the Georgia Secretary of State's office will be removing approximately 300,000 names from the state's list of eligible voters. Amongst those 300,000 names, about 6,000 are from Richmond County. In 2017, the Secretary of State's office oversaw 500,000 eligible voters removed from the voting rolls. And of that 500,000, 100,000 were removed for choosing not to vote. And here we are today revisiting the same conversation. Voters should not lose their right to vote simply because they have decided not to express that right in recent elections. And this concerns me particularly because anytime a voter purge is conducted, errors are sure to be made, including active voters being wrongly included on the list. So for example, in Ohio, 20% of the voters set to be purged were active and eligible voters. The Secretary of State's office has a responsibility to guarantee that not a single voter is wrongly included on the purge list. And so this morning, I met with Lynn Bailey, director of our Augusta Board of Elections, to ensure that Augusta voters will have easy access to fair elections, and she assured me that they will. In the meantime, there are a few immediate action items that we can take to make certain that Augusta doesn't fall victim to reckless state policy where our most precious right to vote is concerned. So, what can we do now? I have in my hand a list published by the Secretary of State's office of over 6,000 names in Richmond County set to be purged. Early as next week, there will be notices mailed to your homes seeking confirmation that you are registered at the address that they send your letter to. What we're asking is that if you receive a notice via mail, respond and mail it back within the given time period. And secondly, if you receive a phone call from the Secretary of State's office, please respond and answer to that phone call and give them the requested information so that you could be counted. And thirdly, if you are here locally and you are able, you may visit the NAACP office, the local party office, or you can call our voter protection hotline to make sure that that your voter registration is up to date, and we will update you on the spot. You may also get in touch with our voter protection team, and that number is 1-888-730-5816. And Mr. L.C. Miles is our local representative. And so I am confident that the local and state officials will do the right thing where Georgia voters are concerned. I want to make certain that we understand that this is not a partisan issue. It's not an issue of race. However, we are all committed to making sure that not one person or not one group of people are affected by the Secretary of State's decision to purge folks from our voting rolls. So with that being said, I would like to recognize Reverend Melvin Ivey for a few comments. Reverend Ivey is the president of the local Augusta NAACP chapter.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. First of all, good morning. The position that the Augusta NAACP takes is simply this. It's that any time that a person is purged from the voter rolls, that is wrong. Our position is that we all should be allowed to exercise our right to vote or not to vote. So what we're going to do, we're going to play a vital role in this process. We're going to reach out to people. We're going to assist people to correct the errors that the state say applies to them, whether they've moved and for some reason has not updated their voter registration, or if they have not participated in the given time frame that they have put out. We've got people that have already committed themselves to volunteer, to assist in this process, and our commitment to not only to make sure that people are registered to vote, but people are educated in the voting process, and then they participate in that process. It's one thing to get a person registered, but the most important point is to help them to understand how it impacts their everyday lives. A lot of people say that I don't like politics. Well, that's fine, but politics like you. Everything that you do in life, politics have something to do with it. I'm going to end on this, simply that politics affects your life when you come into this world because you need a birth certificate in order to be legitimate. It affects your life when you leave this world because you need a death certificate to exit this world. So the Augusta branch NAACP is committed to voter education, voter registration, and voter participation. And wherever there is oppression or suppression of the vote, the Augusta branch NAACP will be there to fight for those people's right to participate in this God-given right. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Ivy. I would also like to recognize Mr. L.C. Miles. L.C. Miles serves as our voter protection representative for the Augusta area. Mr. Miles.
Good morning. First of all, I take this particular action from the Secretary of State in light of the lawsuits that we had during their last election and so forth, that they would tread lightly on trying to get some of these people off the polls. We still have litigations that are still pending right now on some of the actions of the Secretary of State at the time at the last election. But more importantly, the Democratic Party of Georgia has set up a statewide network of voter protection people to ensure that if you are registered, that you can vote, and if you vote, your vote will be counted. In that particular process, we've just had some training on that last week, and one of the things that we are urging people to do is go up and look at on the Secretary of State's office and check your voter registration prior to the November election, and especially after that. You're going to get those notifications next week, and probably in the middle of January, they're going to be purging the list. So we urge everybody that's involved in voter registration and getting people registered to vote and getting people out to vote to go up and check their registration to ensure they still have their right, God-given right to vote. And one of the things that we want you to do, if you have any issues at all, please contact us at the Richmond County Democratic Party. You can contact me, and my number is down at the party, so you can just contact me if you have any issues with voter registrations. If you moved recently and you're still in the same county, a lot of people got purged last time. They were just moved in a different place in a different county, and they got removed from the polls, which they are lawfully registered voters, and they should be allowed to vote. So we want to make sure that the individuals and organizations and people that are going out, like Frank and you guys, you're going out trying to register votes to remind people to check their registrations, because 6,000. If we go out and recruit, we register 12,000, we lose 6,000 on this particular purge, it is like, you're not making any progress. So one of the things that we want you to do is make sure the individuals are educated, like, we said, the NAACP and the rest of the groups, we're going to educate them. The other thing we're going to do is provide a process for them if they're having some issues, and make sure that they respond, and they respond to these letters that they're getting. This time, the Secretary of State is sending those letters directly from the Secretary of State's office. In the past, they sent them down to the local board of elections here, and the local board had a time to go through those and kind of look through them and see whether they had made any mistakes or not. But we're not having that ability to do that this time because they're sending them directly from the Secretary of State's office. So it's important that we get voters, and any voters that are hearing us, go up and check and make sure that you are still registered to vote before an election. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miles. Again, we would just like to emphasize that we have confidence that local and state officials will do the right thing where Georgia voters, and particularly Augusta voters, are concerned, making sure that everyone has access to a fair election and making sure that voting is an easy access for everyone in our county. So with that being said, again, if you receive a letter in the mail, we're asking that you respond to that letter. If you don't receive a letter in the mail, but you think that your voter registration may be compromised or that there may be changes, you may visit the NAACP office, or you may visit the Richmond County Democratic Party office. You can look on our social media platforms, or you can go and visit the Secretary of State's office. That web address is mvp.ga.gov. So with that being said, thank you again for coming and engaging with us this morning. This is not a partisan issue. This is not a racial issue, but we are committed to making sure that no one is left behind because of policy from the state level. With that being said, this concludes our comments. Thank you, and we appreciate you coming out.
Well done, well done.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Very well done. Great job.